Good evening, welcome to JD's Point of View. Now I gotta tell you folks, I was having some trouble this month coming up with a new and exciting topic. February offers just so many possibilities, you know. I thought of doing one on Valentine's Day, but you know that my heart wasn't in it. Or I could do a P.O.V. on my 89 return, but that I thought might be a bit too taxing. Well, then I thought, what else does February mean? And I know that just in February, we celebrate Washington and Lincoln's birthdays. So I figured, what more appropriate question could I ask other than, just who was John Hanson? With regards to George Washington, who was John Hanson?
John Hanson was the guy who, in the Centennial War, he fought the first battle. And he led, I think, 115 people to the other side before he was killed, if I'm correct.
Vice President of the United States at that time.
I think he's a singer.
A good friend of his. I don't know.
John Hanson? I have no clue.
An inventor?
I have no idea. Not the foggiest idea.
Telephone? Man, I don't know.
All right, who was John Hanson?
I don't know. I don't know who John Hanson is.
I have no idea. None at all.
I think it was the third president. Well, I know, jeez, you got me now. That I'm not remember too good, but I know George Washington was the first president.
John Hanson was an insurance man. I'll say an insurance man. I have no idea.
All right, who was John Hanson?
Washington's lover.
I first came across John Hanson when I was doing a project in college my freshman year. I was looking up something in the Columbia Viking Desk Encyclopedia when I saw his name. Actually, that's not quite right either. I first heard about John Hanson when I was a little kid reading a Boy's Life magazine, but I guess I forgot about it until I saw it in here. Oh, well, I guess you're wondering just who John Hanson was. John Hanson was the first president of the United States. Well, I mean, some people consider him to be the first president. He served 1 year under the Articles of Confederation, but his duties were merely those of a presiding officer. That's why he's nothing more than a trivia question these days. You know, I often wonder if John Hanson knew that in 200 years from his death, he would become nothing more than a trivia question. Makes me wonder that if in 200 years' time, we'll be hearing something like,
could you tell me who J.D. Clouser was?
Who?
200 years ago, J.D. Clouser.
I have no idea. Why are you asking me this? Great. This is J.D. Clouser for Time Out on Cable 4. Good evening and welcome to JD's P.O.V. Today we start a whole new year of P.O.V.s. You know, when people talk about their first one, they talk about it with a sense of passion, perhaps a sense of regret, maybe even some bitterness. But I think they always remember it fondly, and, well, of course I am talking about your first car. I thought what better way to start off a new P.O.V. than by asking people that question. What is the first car you ever owned, and what do you remember most about it? All right, what is the first car you ever owned, and what do you remember most about it?
First car I ever owned was a Chevy Nova. I just remember that was a very fast and old police car.
How long did you have it?
About 2 years.
What happened to it?
Sold it to my brother, got a bigger car.
It was a 74 Pinto, and I called it the Blue Bomb because it wouldn't, when I came to every stop sign, it'd stall on me every single time.
How long did you have it?
A year.
What'd you do with it?
Gave it to my sister.
It was a Ford Pinto. The brakes didn't work. The thing broke down in a month. The engine went. And I junked it.
How long did you have it?
About 2 months.
1942 Plymouth. It's the first car I owned outright, and that was a real good car.
How long did it last you?
Oh, I had it about 12 years.
What? First car I ever owned, 1927 Pontiac. What do I know about it? Every time it looked like rain, it stopped going.
How long did you have it?
6 years.
And it was a second hand.
What was your first car?
She didn't know.
I didn't own a car. The first car I ever owned was a blue Vega, and the thing I remember most about it was every time I drove on the street and went over a bump, it hit the ground.
How long did you have it?
Oh, about 2 years.
What happened
It kept
to it?
hitting the ground so much, we got rid of it.
The first car I ever owned was a Chevy Nova, and it had a hearse shifter.
I had a Chevy Citation. It was always broken down.
How about you?
We had a Chevy, green Chevy, like back in 1954, and we lived in Alaska, and I can remember the tires would always freeze flat in the morning when we came down.
How long did you have it?
I don't even remember, maybe a year or 2 years. It was kaput when we came back from Alaska.
A 1934 Plymouth. The year after I graduated from high school, a buddy and I decided to take a trip to Florida in this car, and we had a great time. We ate in it, we slept in it, and we only had one problem with it. We burned out a headlight coming home. That's all.
It's a 1979 Toyota Corolla, and the thing I remember most about it was that it's rusting like hell.
Man, what is the first car you ever owned, and what do you remember most about it?
I never owned a car, so I don't remember much.
Oh. Well, now I suppose you're wondering what my first car was. Well, my first car is my current car, the 76 Oldsmobile. Well, we'll see you next time on P.O.V. In the meantime, this is J.D. Klauser for Time Out on Twin County Cable 4. I know what I forgot to tell you. What it is I remember most about my car. Well, let's see. The blowout in 22, the gaping holes in the floor, the muffler system that had to be repaired twice in the past year and a half, the bump I took up at State College and knocked the rearview mirror off, the crack in the windshield, the lousy stereo system, the 27 bucks it takes to fill it up, etc., etc., etc.